I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, December the 3rd, where we've got weather pressure come in the late part of last week on your Friday sales and some of your Saturday sales there, because that wet cold front that come out there hitting the western part of Nebraska, South Dakota, even northern Kansas, and moving across. It was already wet and sloppy in Iowa with a lot of wet snow, and the temperatures aren't cold enough to keep everything solid, and it's really starting to get sloppy, and the more that melts, it's going to make some problems in your lots in the Midwest. But look at the board late last week. December live cattle ended the week at 116.92. That was down 18 cents for the week. Didn't do a whole lot really on your near-term fat board, but February ended the week at 120.50. That was down 42 cents for the week. Everybody looking at the difference between April and June, though, when they're buying their feeder cattle, trying to buy some hard yearlings that will see the good gains that we've been enjoying through the moderate weather, that can continue to gain like that in the winter months. And so wanting some hard yearling cattle to do that, you know, the fleshy calves won't do it. But if they can time to the April board, it ended the week at 122 even. Now if they fall off and they don't finish up till June, that's an $8.35 discount to the April, with June ending the week at 113.65. January feeder cattle ended the week at 145.22. That was down $4.15, but still right in there tight with about what your cash market is. March feeder cattle ended the week at 142.85, down 307. Fat cattle trade was pretty darn good on Friday. Through Thursday, they'd only sold 23,500 head, most all of those in Iowa, and in turn, Iowa didn't get the market that everybody else got on Friday because they'd already sold too many cattle. But guys that stuck to their guns late in the week on Friday, Southern Plains, Texas 118, few at 118 and a half. I saw Consolidated Beef turned in some cattle at 118 and a half. That would be the tippy top of the market right there. Sign up with them if you want to get that, if you're selling your own fat cattle there. But that would be a buck higher in Texas. The 118 in Kansas was $1 to $2 higher. Western Nebraska, Colorado, Wyoming feedlot area up there, they got 118 and a half for pretty much everything. You remember the last few months they've been robbing those cattle to send out west to fill slots out there, sending them down into Kansas to try to stave off the market. Well, now they've pretty much depleted their supplies in that part of the country. So when you rob Peter to pay Paul, pretty soon you got to pay the piper. Say that 20 times in a row. But 118.50 in that area there, that the supplies are running tighter. Eastern Nebraska, not quite so lucky, kind of a glut of cattle there. It's wet, sloppy, got a lot of big cattle. Things just aren't quite as shiny there, and into Iowa too. But Eastern Nebraska 116, that's mostly steady. Dress sales 183 to 185. Iowa sold some cattle on Friday, 114 to 115 and a quarter, because the guys just don't stick together enough selling their cattle. 182 to 183 on a dress basis for your Iowa cattle feeders. Box beef cutout values. Your average trade for last week on choice cuts, 213.39, down 37 cents compared to the previous week's weighted average. Selects 199.09, up 65. Choice select spread $14.30 on 601 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. Slaughter pretty darn good for last week, 643,000, which not comparable to your Thanksgiving week, but exactly the same as the same week a year ago, and so we're keeping pace there. You look late over the weekend there, some news come out that our great president, Donald J. Trump there, has evidently made a deal with China on trade. So maybe we can breathe a sigh of relief. He did make mention that it's going to help several products, in particular agricultural products. They've got a big demand for grains, for meats, a lot of the ag products that we have here in the United States, and we'd be more than willing to sell them. It sounds like they've struck some kind of a deal. We'll hear more details about it this week, but going to be backing off on the tariffs and the trade barriers, especially the ones that they've had up for our products. But it'll be interesting to see how that happens. I look for the board to be up on ag commodities on Monday, which could be really good for your early week sales. and it could be really bad if your grains are too much sharply higher and your cattle board doesn't respond like it has a tendency to do, not respond. But if your grains get too high and we don't have any more support on your cattle commodities, it actually could be a downer, especially on your feeder contracts. But we'll see how that works out. Cash feeders for last week, yearling feeder cattle and big feeding calves steady to $3 higher, especially early in the week before the pressure from the weather came in. Steer calves sharply higher in spots, especially in the southern plains, but 3 to 5 higher for the most part on steer calves on some weights under 500 pounds that were suitable to turn out on wheat. A lot of those sharply higher, more than $10 higher, 13, 15 bucks higher. Heifer calves not as friendly there and just kind of unevenly steady, but pretty decent in spots as everybody's just preferring the steer calves. Keep an eye on OKC West in El Reno, Oklahoma on Tuesday at their big calf sale. That's their program calf sale. A lot of Oklahoma Network programs are going to be featured there. Going to have bigger consignments, going to have bigger lot sizes, they're going to have health programs on them, they're going to be long time weaned, and the quality is going to be better. So look at that, and they'll have a lot of them. So be sure to keep your eye on OKC West this week. But I noted that the market turned kind of weaker late in the week because of the storms coming in. It definitely affected the market on some of our Friday and Saturday sales. Notably, Fort Scott, Kansas there, DV Auction customer. You can watch them every Saturday on dvauction.com. We did get this information from Cattle Market Central. These are strings of 8-weight steers and load lots and bigger, selling from 140 to 144 with the one lot of 105 head of steers there that weighed 846 at 145 and a quarter. That's nothing to sneeze at. That's a good market, and that is the market. But it definitely probably, but it would have been $2 to $3 higher at least if we hadn't had that weather come in. But they had a big calf special in West Plains, Missouri on Friday, 6,000 head. Crawford, Nebraska had 4,200 head, a big calf special there with a lot of weaned calves, including 94 head, weighed 706 pounds in Crawford, 167.50, and that's your feeder flash for Monday.